Let's see. Let's try. Okay. Today we have Nadia, and now she lives in Poland. I can't remember the where she's from now, but yeah. But welcome, Nadia. How are you?
Hi, Francesco. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm
Where were
actually
you?
from Belarus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now I live in Poland.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you
Perfect.
and very happy to be on this podcast.
Yeah, I really like your set. I really like your setup. I don't have a bookcase behind me, and oh yeah, and we'll talk about
Thank you.
yeah yeah welcome. We'll talk about her book, but first of all, we'll talk about her journey because I read something about that. I don't know her, but now I want to know her story because I think this will be interesting for all of us. Yeah, so please, can you start from whenever you
Sure.
want? Yeah,
Well,
welcome.
I'm afraid it will be, the story will be a little bit long, but I'll try to make it as short as possible.
Yeah, I decided the time of they don't we don't have a sweet time, so
Okay. Okay.
go on, don't worry.
Okay, sure. So, at the moment, I work as a software engineer at Zendesk, which is this really big customer service company. But and I'm 29 at the moment, but until I was 25 years old or almost 26, I had no connection to coding at all. I was sort of afraid of technology. I was really illiterate when it came to that. And when I'm saying that, I'm not being modest. I was, one of those annoying people who are afraid to change the setting on Windows because they're afraid they will break the computer. So I like to joke that I was like a typical grandmother, not a typical teenager when it came to that. uh yeah, so
Yes.
when I grew up, like, I had zero connections with technology. It was never
Mm,
part of the world where I grew up. I grew up in Belarus in the 1990s, which was like a really tough time. And in the climate that I grew up, most of the people that I knew didn't even have computers. And I got the first computer only when I was 15 years old, which was not that long ago. And for a very long time after that, I had no idea, what it can be used for, except for writing emails or contacting my friends. So just really basic stuff. I had no idea what code was and how people wrote code, even though my brother had been working as a programmer for the last 17 years. Still, like, I never had an idea of even asking him what exactly you do at work. And I think none of my family members had any idea. I didn't have any computer science education in high school or in college. Like, there were some computer science courses, but I didn't take them. I chose to focus first on business administration, which was kind of, like a default option for people who don't know what to do, with their lives. So they just choose business administration. Later, I switched to journalism and mass communication because I enjoyed writing and I was good at writing. So I felt that it was, my kind of thing. And eventually, I worked as a translator, as a copywriter, and then I worked as an editor and a journalist at an independent news magazine in Belarus. So all of that without any connection to technology. Like, sometimes I had to do something technical, like it needed to be done, but I always asked other people to do it, people who were technical. I was scared of touching anything related to tech or code, and it was actually quite pathetic and sad. But I thought that it's not for me. Like, I'm not that kind of person. There are people who are good with math and computers, and there are people who are good with languages. So I thought that I was the second type. And actually, it was fine for a while, until I came to a point where we this magazine was shut down. We shut it down, and like, I was kind of out of a job, and also I was at the point where I needed to change something, and I wanted to move away from Belarus. I wanted to move to Poland, where I had a work visa to go here. But I found myself at a situation where I didn't have any transferable skills. I didn't have any technical skills. I mean, I could write and I knew languages, but those kind of skills weren't really, easy to transfer from a Russian-speaking country to a Polish-speaking country. And I didn't speak very Polish very well at that point. So, I was at a situation where I needed to immigrate and I needed to find a job, but I had no skills. So, like, it wasn't like, a very quick process. It wasn't like I sat down and decided, okay, I will be a programmer now. It was more of a gradual thing. Like, I was looking at job ads and I was seeing that there are so many jobs that require technical skills, some like minor technical skills at first. So, I started with learning Photoshop and Excel and things like that. And, I was pretty good at those tools. And later, it turned out that I have much more time to learn. So my move to Poland was a bit postponed. So, I thought, what else can I do? And actually, at that point, I saw that there were so many jobs for programmers. They were very exciting, well paid and stuff like that. And it was my husband actually who kind of encouraged me to consider learning to code as well, just to expand, my opportunities. And basically, that was kind of my inception into the world of coding. So, Francesco, the story is like not very, inspiring, perhaps, or something like that. It was very pragmatic. Uh,
I like this.
so, like, yeah.
I
So this
really
is
like.
how I came to it.
I really like a story, but you said that you had no skill, let's say, as a programmer, but I already see a skill because, in my opinion, communication is the best thing, is the best skill for a developer. Because let's say that most of us, including me, we have not these high communication skills. There are some exceptions, but usually developer lacks of communication. We know
Mm,
that. Yes, and so I think that this skill can be really useful for you. And for example, in my case, I did almost the opposite. That I come from the technical world, and now I'm trying to get into communication. So maybe we
mhm,
can collaborate into this because yeah, for example, now I'm working on something that I'm not comfortable with. So I
mhm.
think in the beginning to get comfortable with something technical is not that easy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And also, I have to admit that you have done really well with this podcast. I can see that your skills really improved since the time you started doing those interviews. So I think that it's great that you're working on developing, the other side of your brain and the other side of your skills.
yeah, yeah, I really want to give an example to be my goal would be to be the living proof that you can
Mhm.
improve also on communication because I was one of the people who say the communication skill is not for me. It's not for me. I'm not that kind of person. As you said, for you, this is not for me.
Mhm.
But I think that with hard work we can reach something that maybe could be impossible maybe for us. Maybe we thought that that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
impossible.
I
So we are in a kind of way similar. Maybe we work like in the opposite ways. So like
yeah,
for me, for communication, and for you on technical world. But and also thank you to your husband because now you are here now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I think it was very important for me to have support,
yeah,
and this is, one of the things that I really encourage people when they're starting out in tech is to find support. And I think that this is step one. You need to find people who will help you and support you on this journey. So it can be, either an online community like Code Newbies or like joining a challenge 100 days of code or something like that, or finding a study group as with Free Code Camp. I remember that you had an interview about that
um,
as well.
yeah.
So, like, it's very important to find people who will keep you going because this journey of learning to code is so hard that I think that it's crucial that you find people who can push you forward in that.
Yeah, yeah, and also I'm doing these kind of interviews to show that yeah, we developers are people that we like to help each other. Yeah, there are people behind the monitors and the keyboards. So here we
Yeah,
are. Yeah, ask us anything. Yeah, so yeah, I've seen you on Twitter, but we'll talk about socials maybe in the end. Now I'd
sure.
like to yeah. So this is very interesting. Yeah, yeah. Now can you talk about your book? I seen you sent me something. I read something, not everything, but I read something. So the name of the book is Crossing the Rubicon, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
what is this book about? I've seen something good about excuses. I want to talk about that later if you want. Please,
sure,
please
sure, sure.
introduce your
So
own book.
Crossing the Rubicon is a self-help book that I wrote for people who are coming from non-technical, non-STEM backgrounds and who want to learn to code and build a programming career. But this is not, your typical guide how to learn to code, because first of all, I try to combine it with my personal story. So I tell my story, and I also give advice throughout the story. So I found this format to be more, relatable and easy to follow. And also, I wrote this book as a person who learned to code very recently. So I still
Mm.
remember what it felt like, to have no idea what's happening. Like, I remember sitting
Yeah,
there and I had no idea what a variable is, how to use it. I mean, I understood what it is, but it took me a while to internalize, how do I use a variable? How do I use a conditional? What is a loop and how it will works? It wasn't like coding wasn't intuitive for me at all. So this was one of the things that I tried to really focus on in my book, to show that it doesn't really matter where you come from. You can start coding much later in life. You can be very, like, non-technical, but you can still learn to code and build a career. And this book, goes through all the steps, what you need to do, like what you need to do to learn to code, what you need to do to find your first job, and also what you need to do to be successful. Because I talk about my first job and my second job and, my current job, and what I learned at each of these jobs, and what I did wrong. So I try to focus on the mistakes that I did, like at every step, and I made like a ton of mistakes, and I think that I learned the hard
yeah,
way.
yeah.
So I wanted to show people that, you don't have to do those mistakes. You can learn from mine. So that's the book in a nutshell.
I love this mindset. I also I'm always like that. I always say my mistakes.
Mm,
Yeah. Also, maybe one day I'll make a video with all my mistakes that I make in my videos, and I'll make another one. That will be very very funny, I think. But I really like
yeah,
your mindset. So basically, you wrote a book for yourself in the past.
yeah, exactly.
You really
Like,
needed this book
yeah.
in the past.
Actually, I wrote about it, like when I announced it on Twitter. I wrote that this is the book that I wish existed 3 years ago, because there were no resources for people uh, who were in a situation like me. I couldn't relate to many of the books that I saw online. I mean, there is like a lot of great books, a lot of great resources, but a lot of those resources are written by people who were, who coded in high school, who like coded when they were 10, who studied computer programming briefly, in college and stuff like that. I couldn't find any resources for people who were like completely non-technical and then learn themselves to code. So I wrote that book that I like. If I could go back in time and, have this book
And
with me,
exactly.
the journey would be much better for me. And also, I want to add that this book, although it's crossing the Rubycon, and I code in Ruby on Rails, hence the name. This is
Yeah.
not a book that is specific, to this technology. I give advice to some, resources that are related to Ruby on Rails, but the advice is generic enough so that you can use it, to find similar resources in other technologies.
Perfect. I really like the topic of this book. Yeah, and so I think that you can help a lot of people out there. I
Mhm.
had so many people coming here that come from a total non-technical background. Yeah, like
Yeah,
an opera singer, an ex makeup artist. So let's say that they were not that technical in that sense. Yeah. So
it's great that you're bringing so many, different perspectives on your show. This is, something that I really like about it. That you can listen to interviews with people like from every walk of life and what they're doing today. So I think that it's great that you're doing that. I think you can inspire a lot of people as well.
yeah. It's really but because it's really interesting also for me to listen to them the
Mhm.
story because yeah, I think almost none of us started as a developers. Yeah, maybe yeah, but in your case you start, let's say, from zero, from
Mhm.
zero background. Maybe this could be the title, from zero background to developer. I don't know if I'll use that, but yeah, thank you, because this really yeah. um, which were the problems that you had that are really in this process? Because I think that it's not easy. Yeah, is it? Is
Well,
it?
it's not
Tell
it's
us.
not like for me, like I'm very intuitive when it comes to learning foreign languages. So, languages come very easily to me. Like I can hear a word like once or twice and then I remember it like forever. Uh, but when it came to coding, it wasn't like that at all. Like I wasn't a very fast learner. Very immediately I saw that I wasn't a coding whiz or anything like that. That I knew that it will be very hard for me. But I think the first problem that I actually had was those, excuses that you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier.
I like this.
Like I had a lot of mental blocks that I had in my head that I mostly, made up, or they were like put there by, by some. They were just, myths. They weren't connected to
Yeah,
reality, and I had to, overcome those blocks first, and only then I could learn, I mean, it wasn't like I overcome the blocks first and then I learned to code. It was like a constant, struggle. So I had to stop myself from making those excuses all the time that I learned.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like one we can talk about those excuses, if you wish.
Yeah. I
Yes,
was
so
about I was about to ask him for some of them, please. Really, but I really like. Yeah, I made a video like excuses that you could make to not make
mhm.
videos recently. So yeah, I really like this. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's similar to what you're
yeah,
doing. Yeah, so like the first thing I think the most popular was that I'm not a math person, and math is very difficult for me, and computer programming is only for people who are good at math. And there is this idea that there is this person who is great at math or physics, and they go to math Olympiads, they build robots in their free time, they create their own programming languages and stuff like that, and then they go to study computer science in college, and then they become programmers. So this is like this picture of a person who does it. And also it's very important that they uh, each free minute that they have outside of work, they also code, and they always working on their own side projects. And it's like
um,
coding is like their whole it surrounds all of their existence. But
yeah,
it was like an ideal or an image that had nothing in common with what I had. So it was completely foreign to me. So I had to, educate myself on this. And I found out that, first of all, in the world of web development, you really don't need much or any math to be successful.
yeah,
Of course, there are types of programming where you need to learn math and
of
like
course.
specific math, but it doesn't mean that you cannot build a career, if you're not good at math. There are tons of great developers who really
Yeah,
struggle with math. Also, I found out that there are so many, like this field of technology is so big and it's so diverse. There
yeah.
are so many
It's a word.
companies, there are so many roles in it, and there are so many people, and like not all of them are, uh, not all of them are like what I described, a few minutes ago. There are people who are, have different hobbies, who come from a different background, of a different age. And the beauty of the industry is that there's a place in it for every kind of programmer. You don't have to fit this one image to do it. So it was very helpful for me that I learned this. And I think another one was that it's like a very solitary occupation, and it's only for introverts. So there's this idea that a coder is someone who sits alone in their room, doesn't talk to anyone and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
if you are not that kind of person, you might think that this is not for you, that you will not fit in. And I also discovered that isn't true at all. So, of course, there are some introverts in this industry, and perhaps the percentage of introverts is a bit higher than in other industries.
yeah,
But this is just because the specifics of the job. But there are also, um, a lot of extroverted people as well. And also,
yeah.
you have
Love that.
to be able to communicate, to be a programmer as well. And I didn't know it before, but now I see it.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe if you knew that before, you were maybe it would have been easier for you that maybe to
Yeah.
understand it. Yeah, I had here many real great programmers, great developers, and all of them, included me. I'm not a big developer, but I am with all of them. that the communication is the best is the best skill for a developer. It's the skill that we really like, we really lack. Most of
Mhm.
us lack. We don't know. Maybe as you said, because maybe for the nature of what we are doing. Maybe because
Mhm.
I think that it's always about practice. Yeah. Also,
Mhm.
as for me, I started to talk in English like 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago. Yeah, before I was just watching tutorials, reading book in English. I understand completely, but I had not this practical approach to that. Yeah, now I've
Yeah,
improved.
but
Yeah, but
yeah, it's easy to see how much you improved, and I think
yeah,
that it's the same with coding as well. Like,
yeah,
I was doing a lot of like when I was learning to code, I was going through a ton of tutorials, and there is this tutorial hell that you can
yeah, yeah. I
get
was about
to.
I was about to tell that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I spent like a long
Yeah,
time in that hell,
yeah,
much
yeah.
longer than I
There,
should
yeah,
have.
yeah. There are also video how you can escape from tutorial hell. Please don't stay in that hell too. Please, you can start watching videos about how to can escape from tutorial hell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a good place to be, but it feels good, but it's actually
yeah,
not. Um, yeah. So, but when I left the hell and I started building my own apps, first of all, I saw that I have no idea what I'm doing. That I felt that I had learned so much from those tutorials, and I had learned a lot. But when you have to make all of those decisions yourself, it's a whole different thing. You actually see
uh,
how much you don't know about it.
uh, yeah. It's like watching, I don't know, video of recipes without never actually cook. Yeah, yeah. You know a lot of things, but without the practice, yeah, yeah, you will always feel lost in the beginning. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But still, what's interesting is that I learned, I think, most of what I know at work. So,
yeah.
when I got my first job, I thought that I was like I knew what coding was, but then quickly I saw that I actually didn't, and I had to learn a lot of like almost everything on my job, and then on the next jobs. So it's very important, to just go out there and try doing things. Like if you're not able to get a job, you should build projects, yourself just for fun and to learn. But then it's very important to get any kind of job you can as soon as possible. It can be an internship if you can afford it. It could be an unpaid internship or something like that, or it can be like for very little pay. But it's super important to get working on a real project as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. If you have the opportunity, yeah, this
Hmm.
would also be a good idea. So thank you, Nadia. So currently, what are you doing now currently?
Hmm.
Or you can keep going with your book, of course, if you can
Hmm.
integrate that into what you are saying.
Sure.
This
Sure.
is
Yeah.
the
So
yeah.
I'm working as a software engineer, and I usually work in Ruby. So I work on the backend, and I truly enjoy working on backends, and writing APIs and unit tests, working with databases and stuff like that. Um, I really find the backend side much more, I don't know, structured and kind of. I feel calmer or better when I work on the backend. I think
Yeah,
it fits my personality better. Um, yeah,
yeah.
so that's what I do during work. And for the last 8 months, I think my time outside of work has been taken up by the book. It actually took like a long time to finish. I
Oh,
started in March, and I published it 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so now I'm trying to spread the word and get it in front of as many people as I can.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, just one question. You started that for the lockdown, or maybe you had already in mind
Uh, well,
that you wanted to start to write that book? Because we had so many people here that they started something in March, included me. So
mhm.
was this an idea, or yeah, you started because
Well, I had the idea actually in February because before the lockdown, I just read another book for Learning to Code, that was again written by someone who actually studied some computer science in college, and I thought that it was like kind of like a last drop for me. I never had an idea of writing a book, or I never had a dream, to become an author or anything like that. But when I saw that, I just thought, oh my god, there is really nothing written for people. Okay, there might be something, but I have never found it for people who who come from the same background as I do. So I thought that, okay, if this book doesn't exist, I have to write it myself. So this was kind of my decision, and it was just like I heard, like, I just realized that I have to do it. Like, I have no choice. So I started, writing down some things in February, and then the lockdown started, and I think, like everybody, I had so much more time on my hands, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that I actually had this idea before the lockdown. And is this book actually kept me. It kind of helped me during the lockdown and all of the
Oh,
crisis. Like, there were so like this year there were so many things happening that were around the world, and also back home in my home country of Belarus, that there were so many horrible things happening that were completely outside of my control.
yeah.
And this book was, I think, one of the only few things that I could control, that was completely mine, and I
Mm,
found some calmness and relief while
yeah.
working on it. So I'm really glad I started it, and I'm so glad that this year, that wasn't good at all,
Yeah.
that it had something good in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we will remember this 2020 in the future, also in 30 years.
That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So as you said, so yeah, so from what you are saying, so this book also helped you,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
maybe to write
So
your
also
feelings. Yeah,
Also, like, I have been thinking about all of this stuff, like, for a few years, ever since I started learning. And sometimes people ask me questions about how I learned to code and stuff like that. And I of course answered everybody, but like, every time I had to remember what I did, and like how I did it. And I thought that it would be good also to gather everything in one place, all of my advice in one book. And also, I thought that it was very important for me not to forget it, because even now I'm starting to forget a lot of things that happened, during this journey. So when I was writing it, I was actually remembering things that happened to me, and I was putting them down on paper. So now I know that they will be written down, and I will be
yeah.
able to remember them.
I think that this is very important. Also, me, I released an article about my journey, for example, in making videos, and I wanted to really write it down before I actually forget that. So I think that this is also one of the reasons why we should also write a
Mm-hmm.
book about ourselves. Yeah, can
Yeah,
you
I think it's very
yeah,
important, just to write. Sorry, just to write everything that, like, that you do and happen to you. Like, this
yeah,
moment of building in public is very good. Like, you just write everything that
yeah.
decisions you take, what you do, and then it's so easy to go back and to learn from it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure, that writing, is one of the best habits that we could have. I'd like to write more in
Hmm.
2021. I'm already writing, but I'm not gonna reveal anything, because if I reveal anything, I fail. I know myself. Yeah. As you said, you had not this writing habit before,
Mm-mm.
or
No.
yes, nothing.
No, I worked as a journalist before I started learning
Mm,
to code. But when I started learning to code, I was like so focused on just coding and learning to code that I think I like wrote some posts on Facebook, like, from time to time, but I didn't have a habit of doing it. And I kind of lost my habit of writing during this journey of
mm,
learning to code. But I did some writing at work naturally, like when we write documentation and things like that, and I really enjoyed it. So I think that on subconsciously I kind of missed doing it during this time, but I didn't have the energy or the desire, frankly, to do that. So when I started writing to the book, it took me like a long time to get myself, into the habit of doing it. And actually, at first, when I started, I had no idea, like, how does one write a book. I didn't take a
yeah.
course, like, how to write a book.
Yeah.
I just sat
You
down.
haven't watched the videos about how to write a book. I'm sure that there are out there. If I would type on
Yeah,
YouTube how to write a
yeah,
book, I'll find something.
there are so many resources on that, but I didn't do any of that. I just started writing and actually wrote
Like,
my first draft. I thought that, oh, okay, this is a draft. And it was like, then I saw that it was like completely horrible, that it wasn't a book at all. It was just, a collection of thoughts.
yeah,
And then at that point, I realized that, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what a book is. I mean, I read books and a lot of them, but I have no idea how to write a book. So then I had to get I needed to get some materials on how do you write a book. So I read some books about how do you
yeah.
structure a story,
Um,
how do you do all of that.
I really like this approach that you start creating some content and then you work on quality after you have something. Because sometimes we have this this obsession, to be perfect before starting something. You want to start a book, I don't know, maybe writing the perfect cover
Mhm,
before actually writing the book. So I think you did the best approach. You first of all you start from your feelings, your this
mhm,
is this is what is really important in a book, and then you can work
mhm.
on a cover also for 1 month, one week if you have that. But I think it's better to do that after. In my opinion, this is my opinion. You
Yeah,
can work
yeah.
on quality after. Yeah,
Mhm,
because sometimes in the beginning we don't really have an idea of what what we are doing, what we are. Yeah, it's for example, for me, for my videos, I didn't have this idea of interviews with people from all over the world. So
mhm.
this is something that I discovered while doing them. So I think also in your case,
Yeah. Mhm.
you started writing your
Yeah,
feelings.
it's like this book is like the result. Like I'm proud of the result, and usually I'm not happy with the result of my work, but in this case, I really think that I did the best. The best book that I could have at this point in time. But it's not the book that I initially had in mind. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
And also, I have to admit, Francesco, that if back in March I already knew like how long it would take and how difficult it would be, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have started it at all.
Well,
So,
we'll never know. We'll never know. And I'm sure. I don't know. If you want to write another one, but I think that the second one will be way easier. I think because usually the first one is always the hardest one. Yeah, yeah. It took me 10 years to do the first video, and then I'm doing a lot of them. Yeah. So
and now
also,
you do a video every day.
yeah, yeah, even more than one per day. But I'm doing this analogy because now I'm doing this kind of stuff, but also I'm working on DevOps things,
Of
Docker.
course.
This is what I like when usually I don't make
Hmm.
videos. Yeah, so I really like your mindset, your approach, and you did it. And because sometimes you also start something and then we don't do that. So so you started something. Maybe it took, as you said, too much time maybe for the first time, but at
Hmm.
least at least you've done now. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm really happy. I'm really happy for you.
it's such a big relief. Thank you, thank you. It's just such a great feeling to I think to complete any big project. And yeah, that's why I encourage
Yeah,
people, if they have a desire to create something, you need to do it. And
like
I think creating something is really, the best thing that you can do. And actually, it's one of the advantages of, being a coder as well, because as a coder, you get to create stuff
exactly.
almost like every day. And, it was one of the excuses I had for not learning to code. I thought that programming could be like really dull and boring, but then and I thought that arts are creative and coding is boring. But in reality, if you think of it as in a pure sense of creation, then coding is very
Yeah,
creative. And actually you
yeah,
create stuff that real people use, and then you get paid for
yeah.
it, and it's great.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I tweet about that. Maybe in 1,000 years we'll be remembered as as the artist of the third millennium. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. So when people still writing on keyboards, it was so strange years. This is art in my opinion. In a certain sense. Yeah. In a certain way. Yeah. So thank you. And can you say can you say something else? how long is your book? If you have covered other topics, maybe in the end, if you have something, I don't know, some advices in the end that you can say now, maybe just a little bit, then we will check your book, of course, so we can, yeah, so we can close with some good advice, maybe for some
Hmm.
people that they are not coders, maybe they are just in the situation that you were in the beginning when you wanted
Hmm.
to start coding. I think that was the interesting part, and maybe
Hmm.
maybe they are looking for resources on internet. They come on this interview, and what can we say to them
Yeah,
now
sure,
in the
sure, sure.
exact moment?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think that one of the most important things is that you have to remember that, you're allowed to be the worst in what you're studying. You don't have to be perfect, when you're learning a new skill. Most likely, the code that you write or any other skill that you start learning, that you will be terrible at it in the beginning. And it's fine. Like for me, it was very hard to accept this idea that, I was like a straight A student in high school. I took part in English Olympiads and stuff like that. And then I started this new career where I was like the absolute worst person ever. And, it's fine. Like it's your time to learn, and just allow yourself to learn, to take the time to become better. Don't be so harsh on yourself. This is actually, the struggle is the part of the process. If you're struggling with learning, it's actually good. It means that you are remembering things. Like studies prove that if you try to solve a problem and it's difficult and you struggle, and then you will learn the solution, it means that you will remember it for a much longer time. So this is also totally fine. Yeah, so you should also, be grateful to people who help you on your journey.
yeah,
Accept help, ask for help, and just, also, like the advice that I give in my book is that when you are starting a new career, you have to be also very mindful and careful and take good care of yourself, because it's, very easy to burn out if you're starting a new career
yeah,
like coding. And this is something that I almost did to myself. Like I wasn't taking good care of myself. So you have to, let go of being a perfectionist. Just imagine that you're a child who's learning, just to do something basic, and just, allow yourself this time. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like I was 25, 26 when I started, and it was difficult for me to accept that that it was so difficult for me, that I wasn't, like smart enough or whatever. But actually, it's all fine. And like in some time you will look back on the things that seemed very difficult to
yeah.
you, and you will see that they, you know them so well right now, and you will feel that, you have achieved so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
I read something about that. That we tend to overestimate we can do in one day, and we underestimate what we can do in 1 year, for example. Yeah,
Exactly.
sometimes we look back like some months ago, yeah, and we are totally different person. Yeah, I think the 2 months ago was like about what could be the next Docker video, something like that. So nothing about this kind of interviews, and nothing about
Mhm.
that. Yeah, and sometimes happen that you want to get better at doing something. Yeah, and with practice you can really get
Mhm.
better. It needs some time, and also another thing that I think that it's really important is to take breaks, because sometimes in coding, sometimes we would like to like code for, I don't know, 4 hours straight without even eating and sleeping, but this is not good for your health. Yeah, we should also always think that about like a marathon, something long.
Mhm.
You need to take
Yeah.
rest, take breaks, think about your bugs during breaks, take a walks, something else.
Mhm.
It's not that good just to stare at your screen for like 1 hour. So take the good breaks, take your time. I really like your advices. We are different in some sense, but you're also similar in other sense. So I really enjoyed this
Yeah, me too.
interview. Yeah, let's call it interview, even if I'm not a journalist. But yeah, so thank you,
Thank you
Nadia.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Nadia.
It was
Looking
it was a
forward.
pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, where can we find you on the socials? Where are
Sure.
you more active?
So I'm most active right now on Twitter, and you can follow me at Bittlehope. And in
Mhm.
December, I'm actually doing this kind of thing where I'm taking 30 or 40 minutes each day to review a coding resource for people who are just learning to code. And
Mm.
I provide like a short, honest review of this resource from a perspective of someone who learned to code fairly recently. So this is something that I'm doing right now. So you might
Oh,
be
I
interested.
like it.
And also, we're together with Mina from Code and Dream. We're doing a giveaway of my book for the next couple of days.
Oh,
So
really?
if you follow me, you can find
I
the
did.
giveaway as well.
Yeah, I didn't know her, but I had here as a guest.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
noticed that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I really like. I really like Mina. I didn't know this, for example. Now, this is a surprise. Hi, Mina. So I follow you. Follow you. We can also put some links on your books where you can find that if you want. Take a look. Take a look at that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
follow her, please. Yeah, so it is a really a pleasure. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
Best
This was
best luck
great.
for everything. Yeah,
Thank you.
I hope that you write another book now. That you don't stop. If you enjoyed that, if you find one topic that you really like, I don't know if you are currently working on something, some future
Not
plan.
yet.
Do you have some future plans, or let's not do some plans for 2021? For my plan is to survive this 2021. I see a lot of people. They are like the, these are the lists of my goals. These are what I want to say. I would like to say just survive, just keep doing things, and we'll see. I don't know, but yes.
We'll
So
see. But, I think we'll hope that it will be a much better year for all of us.
yeah, yeah. Let's say let, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Yeah, yeah. So
So thank you so much,
thank you.
Francesco. It was a great pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.